What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today I'm looking at two of the top e-bikes, and I guess the country, maybe the world. Both on two different sides of the spectrum. We have the Lectric XP 2.0 step through, and that would be entry level. And then we have the Delfast Top 2.0, and that's definitely your all-in, ready to go pro e-bike level. So right now I'm just cleaning them up because it is cold as F. Now these two are kind of like the David versus Goliath, in the sense that this has a lot of power, but if you're going to get a bike for like deliveries in the city, this might be too nice and too powerful. And if you set up any racks on this axle, it's not a good idea. From the recent experience I had with a mechanic replacing my motor stator. If you're going to put a rack, he suggested putting the pressure here, or the Delfast has a universal rack. I think I'm going to try to install the two-seater. I got a two-seater for this. The only thing I don't want to happen is, because I like to ghost pedal a lot and actually pedal for exercise, if I install the moto seat, I'm afraid it's going to be too low for me to actually feel comfortable enough to pedal normal or ghost pedal. So the good thing about doing the moto seat is I would be able to attach a food packer bag, like I would be able to attach a rack on the second seat, or the rear part of the seat for the moto seat. Then I can attach my packer food bag on top of one of these grills. Oh fuck. Please don't crack the camera lens with that bullshit. Alright, so if you're thinking about getting an electric bike and you've never ridden a motorcycle or an e-bike, I would start with something like the Lectric. But if you're coming from the motorcycle world, then I would actually recommend the Delfast. Because if you went to the e-bike world from the motorcycle world, this would be way too slow and underwhelming. And then if you went from the bicycle world to the Delfast, it would be a little bit overwhelming. Because you ride this thing like a motorcycle. Like, I've never ridden a motorcycle. I've always wanted a motorcycle. But I can clearly tell that when I ride this, I can squeeze my legs on the frame. I can like lean my weight to the left and right and then guide where it goes. Where if I were to lean my weight on this thing, I would just fall over. And this thing corners 1,000 times better than this. So if I'm in the city and I'm like on the GPS and I'm like going the wrong direction and I need to do like a quick 180 turnaround on the dime, this is got that quick turnaround on the dime action all day long. This has a terrible range of motion. You see where this front fork meets the outside of the frame, that's as far as it goes. All right, that is your turning radius. So you see how far this will go past the frame. So the handlebars will actually go parallel or a little bit past if I keep twisting. I don't want to keep twisting though. Whereas this handlebar doesn't even go parallel to the frame. So, and then this, you know, this is like 160, 155 pounds. This is only 50. A little bit more, it's going to be 5 pounds extra with the food bag, depending on what food bag you have. So in terms of delivery, I like this a little bit better in some ways. In others I don't. The ways that I like that, it's like I mentioned, you're smaller, you can turn at the dime, on a dime. What I don't like about it is I have to lock it up, which leaves me vulnerable as a target. Especially the lock I use, I have to bend over, thread the lock through the wheel and all that. Someone can just hit me in the back of the head. And there's so many people in Georgetown and DC, like even if I get my back against the wall, I am just leaving myself open, and I do not like that. Plus it takes more time to lock up and unlock the bicycle chain. So therefore it takes longer to do the delivery. And if you get multiple orders, that time will add up. Whereas the Delfast, everyone knows about the infamous beeping alarm sound. And that sucks in most cases if you're trying not to disturb people, but in the security context of when you're doing a delivery in the city and you want to flex your muscle, like, hey, this is alarmed, people will know. And I'll never leave this out for more than you know, a few minutes. But I'm also standing right there. I never leave it too far out of sight either. So I never leave this out of sight or out of reach for more than like 5 minutes, even less, just because the city's so dynamic and shit can happen so quickly. In the country in West Virginia, it's so empty, it's spread out further. You're not at much risk as you are in the city, where it's more condensed and populated. And then I love the speed on the Delfast. Like, you're never going to be a nuisance in traffic. People are never going to honk their horn at you unless you're intentionally going slow. Like, you can pass traffic all day long in DC. Oh my gosh, it's insane. You will go through brakes a lot quicker riding this bike in the city because it's heavier. You're just going to run through brakes. This is the, it's got what, the Tektro Ariga E-Twin hydraulic brakes, and then this has disc brakes. It only has it's mechanical brakes. So these are my first mechanical disc brakes I've had mechanical brakes, the V-grip that squeeze on the outside of the tire, my first e-bike. And the Delfast actually has 2 disc brakes on the front and 1 on the rear. Important thing, it's really easy to change the brakes on the Delfast, but on my fat tire e-bike, I never changed hydraulic disc brakes before, and I'm glad I did it on the fat tire e-bike with the Profane engine I used to own. Well, I still own it, it's just out of order. But when whatever you do, PSA, if you're changing hydraulic brakes, do not squeeze the brake lever. It will ruin your day. What happens is going to push out these 2 I guess calipers or round things that push the calipers together when the brake calipers are inside it. And if there's not a disc there for resistance, or if there's not anything to squeeze, it's going to push those circular things out, and brake fluid is going to come out, and you're going to have a fun time, what do they call it, pumping the fluid, bleeding the brakes, bleeding the brake lines or something like that. So you can tell, guys, I'm not like a mechanic, I'm not even like a novice bicycle worker. I'm just your everyday guy that loves e-bikes. I've been riding e-bikes for over 15 years now. But owning these bikes, definitely the Delfast, I found that you should have some mechanic skills. Unfortunately, everything is not so easy to do, or you can't just take it to a shop. There's a lot of people that won't even touch it or work on it. And it's an important thing to note between the two is these are bicycle tires, fat tires, and those are motorcycle tires. So to change the Delfast tires, you would have to take it to a motorcycle shop or have tire irons, lube, Windex Armor all lube to slip on the new tube, and so it's a fun process. Some people might like it, I won't. And in order to do that on the Delfast rear wheel, you have to go in and take out the side panel, the battery, unhook the cable harness of the motor, and then unfish the cable harness out of the frame, which we all know is a pain in the ass. Some people in different companies said that you could just keep the tire next to it, but I went to the motorcycle shop that fixed or replaced the tube or the motorcycle tire on the rear tire when it was being fixed, and I asked him would he be able to do a tire swap while that cable harness is still connected but keeping the tire nearby, and he's like, nope, not with my tools. So maybe some could, but that's one of the things, if you're going to get like a Delfast or a bike similar like that, and if you're not like a master mechanic or mechanically inclined yourself, then you don't have to be a master mechanic. It's not that difficult. It's just a new thing to learn. Some things you do, like if you're going to replace the motor stator, that shit was no cakewalk, because that had wheel bearings in it and shit I would never know how to do. Like, I never seen a wheel bearing removal tool before. Never saw a helicoil, which one of the threads had in there we had to replace. So you should check with some local mechanics, make sure, and check out my videos of what I did to the Delfast and how I got mine fixed, and ask around and show them the videos and like, can you work on this future bike I'm getting? These are the possible stuff that you would have to do on it. But I like how this has, you know, a rack already ready for rear luggage. I like how this bike folds up. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now one thing, if you guys own a Lectric, maybe you guys can help me out, because I'm having a hard time taking out the battery. Oh gosh. Okay, there's the battery. Just wants to lean like that. Oh. And these pedals come up, by the way. It took me a while to remember how to get these pedals up. You push inward and then lift up. Okay. And there we go. Now one thing that's annoying, but I guess it's useful for some things like protecting the cable, but when taking this bike down the curb, this bar gets caught on a curb, or if you're taking this bike down a flight of steps, you have to lift it up over the first step or two. If you just go straight down, this metal bar is going to hit the step and you're going to get caught. It's really annoying, but okay. I'm going to try to take this battery out. Let's see if it comes out easy this time. And you got to turn the key. Nope. So I'm trying to turn the key towards the left. And this cable's getting stuck, or the key seems like it's pushing into the cable. Okay, well the key's out. I'm not able to easily push this metal button, so I guess I'm freaking stuck. with this battery. Wait, is there a handle here? Oh, got a handle. Well, that's great, there's a handle, but the handle doesn't help if I can't push this freaking metal button in, does it? I'm pushing up. You have to keep the key in. That doesn't make sense. Okay. Alright, it's locked. I definitely can't push the button. Now it's unlocked. What the heck? Lectric. Ugh. Well, that's not convenient, because, well, I'm glad I checked this out now. I was thinking about getting a second battery so I could do multiple runs in DC with this. But if this is such a pain in the butt to swap out batteries, then maybe not. Ugh. It might just be better to have a freaking second e-bike. Okay, well, that's not convenient to switch. If you guys own an electric XP or any XP or any electric bike, I guess, if you know how to better unattach the battery, please let me know. That would be helpful. Thank you. Another thing that annoys me about the Delfast, which, again, I don't build bikes, I don't work on them, so I'm not a mechanic. But I'm definitely learning a lot of stuff owning these. Alright, so this is annoying the heck out of me, is that this fender is crooked. And when we're on that topic, so is this front light. Ooh, it's so annoying. And I got the second light. Now, if you're wondering why this is upside down, either you know the reason why. Through experience, most of you have had an e-bike, and then once you reach a certain speed, if this is right side up, the wind pushes it down. And then you're like, I should just leave it upside down. Or there's not enough room because there's stuff in the way up here. Or you think it looks cool. But the reason I have mine upside down, and I've changed it upside down from right side up, is because I've had an experience with the other bike. The other bike I had, I was going so fast that this would just keep flipping over and over again until I was like, well, if I just leave it upside down, that's never going to happen. So yeah, I've been keeping them upside down, which is, again, you don't have to worry about the wind pushing it back, because when you're going 60 miles an hour, you don't think about stuff like the flashlight on your bike flipping over. But that does leave more room for other stuff on top, which is really nice. But this son of a gun is crooked, and the only way I can actually get this completely on was not by putting on all the washers. But it's this brake house right here that is in the way. So you guys tell me, because I'm dyslexic and I'm not a mechanic, to even this out, should I put in another washer, take one out? I have 2 washers in the right and then none in the left. And I don't have any in the left because if I put a washer in the left, it's not going to thread through. So the question is, to even this out, do I add more washers on the right side? I don't know. Anyways. Ooh. Another thing I like about the Lectric is the adjustability of the handlebars and the seat. And of course, you can put this in a car easily. That you can put in a freaking truck, not a car. But look how upright I am. So I'm like leaning back. My arms are stretched out. My back is straight. I'm in an upright position. And I can adjust the seat so I'm lower and I'm even more back weighted. And I can also stand up and keep my back straight. Unlike the Delfast, here I am always at a 45-degree angle forward, which is not bad, but it can hurt your back after a while if you're not in a comfortable position. And then also I'm not able to lean back and stretch out my arms. And I'm not also able to stand straight up. Like if I want to get up all the way, I have to lean forward. So I don't like that. Delfast has signals, so that's cool, and a horn. And those are actually really helpful tools. It's not being able to, not having to use your hand for signals and not having to yell out or use a little bike bell. You have a full-on horn. People hear you coming and they stop and they listen with that horn. This, I don't even have a bell on this, so I just yell if I need to get someone's attention. So I will be able to work longer on the Delfast. But here's the thing with this is the David versus Goliath. If you wanted to, you could pedal all day without a battery or motor. So technically you can still use this as a normal bike, and it's all up to you and your own personal energy how far you can take it. I've actually personally have gone on a longer trip on this versus this. So you guys see me come from West Virginia to Maryland and Washington DC, and vice versa, going from Maryland to West Virginia. So I've taken her to Kensington many times from the C&O Canal, and different ways. One was longer than the next. Well, I guess that was the longest one technically, but no, I charged up, so I took a break and I charged up, so that doesn't count. So that's not a single charge. Because one way I went was taking the Mouth Monocacy, and that was a 69-mile straight trip. And then another route, I went from the main like Great Falls site in Maryland by Potomac, and that was 81-mile total distance. But I took a break at the place and charged my battery and had some lunch there. But this Amanda, I've taken her from Martinsburg all the way to Georgetown straight, and that was over 72 miles, and that was straight off of one battery. So that was a long journey. I was hurting. I wanted to deliver the very next day, but I needed a day to recuperate. By the way, this thing, the charging port, it's easy to unplug, unattach, whatever. Took me a while to figure out how to plug it back in easily. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I push it in and up towards the right. Of course, it's not going to do it. Yeah, come on. Because it's got like a thin, if you can see, like a very thin hole. If you mess that up, you're like, am I going to bend the metal in it? So I kind of push it up towards the right a little bit. Before I was pushing it down towards the left and it was not going in. And the Delfast, that charging port was ridiculously annoying. It was here. Tom, the mechanic that helped me work on the bike, replaced the charging port here, which is way better. If you guys just got your Delfast, you might notice that untwisting this and then retwisting this, for me, this base part unattached and started twisting and actually started to come out of the portal itself. So now it's solid, and you definitely don't want it twisting. You don't want the base to twist, because that means the cables are tangling up and twisting. You're going to snap them eventually. So either reapply some adhesive to make it stuck in place, but it's also just annoying to have the charging port right under here when you have a fender in the way, so you always have to turn the wheel. That would mean if you leaned it against the wall to save space, you couldn't charge it. You have to put the kickstand down, which, by the way, this kickstand on the Delfast is kind of low. It's a solid kickstand, although it's starting to feel a little wiggly in the middle. Let's see. This bike is lighter, so yeah, I guess this has a little bit of play too. I guess they all have to have some play in it. But look at this kickstand. See, it's like getting looser. And it feels pretty weak right here. I'm not too happy about that. I wonder if you can adjust this to go longer, because this is just too short of a kickstand. I have another kickstand for my fat tire bike. It's the heavy metal extendable electric bike kickstand from Seattle or whatever. I really don't want to replace that with this because it's silver, but it might work better. Now, if you guys have any suggestions on that, let me know. So they're both great bikes. At the end of the day, a lot of people are talking about what's the best e-bike. Some have said you might need 2 e-bikes, and I kind of agree with that. I do think everyone needs 2 e-bikes at this point. There's not one perfect e-bike, and there's not one perfect e-bike that's convenient for all situations, and there's not one perfect e-bike that has the charge, range, and power for all situations that you need specifically. So we're getting closer. We also need a better infrastructure. Charging stations would be nice. Battery memberships, so you could go to a store, swap out your battery within seconds and not have to charge it. But that would have to change the dynamic of how you buy a bike. Maybe you buy the bike and you don't actually own a battery, but you own a membership to endless battery swaps. That might be cool. But I don't know. Those are just some of my thoughts on these 2 bikes that are technically the best e-bikes in the market, in the country, or in the world right now at the moment. I'm excited about e-bikes in general because, let me tell you, 15 years ago the options were not that great. You didn't have this many options. There's a lot more car industries that are getting into e-bikes, which is good. Heard even Harley Davidson has one. So, alright guys, that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys later.